Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me today. Today, I'd like to share with you a research project that was conducted last summer with a group of visiting Japanese students who were buddied with one-to-one Thai tutor hosts. And this is looking specifically at the intercultural sensitivity development of the Thai tutor hosts within their local environment. So here, the problem statement, as we know, international education is significant within higher education itself. And there's also a need to be able to measure the outcomes through the actual experiences of students themselves. And in particular, within Asia, research on the host development is lacking right now within what's known as internationalization at home. This basically includes any internationally related activity with the exclusion of outbound student mobility. Regarding the literature review, I'm going to be covering several different terms here so that we can have a shared understanding of how these relate to the current study. And we'll begin with intercultural communication competence. This is referred to by Chen and Starasta as an umbrella concept. And this includes 3 different dimensions that you can see listed below over here. Intercultural sensitivity in particular, which connects to the affective realm, was an interest that I had because in a previous study that looked at the Japanese students, the visitors, this was quite a significant area that was noticed within a data set, which was largely qualitative based on their interactions with the Thai tutors previously. And so this time I wanted to understand the intercultural sensitivity development of the tutors themselves to understand what it was like from their position. Here, intercultural sensitivity, we can see a lot of agency is necessary on behalf of each individual that of course connects to their ways of understanding, appreciating and accepting the differences that transpire across cultures. And relating to this is ICA, which is Intercultural Communication Apprehension, which we can see over here. This, of course, is the fear and anxiety that's associated with either real or anticipated interactions. So it can, of course, be imagined in connection with intergroup contact. Internationalization at home. This is a more fleshed out definition. I'll just give you a moment to look at that. Okay, so as we can see here, this occurs through formal and informal curriculum for students that largely occurs through their domestic learning environments, as opposed to, as I said before, the outbound student mobility. And within research, buddy systems down here within internationalization at home is one area that's been researched. And that, of course, is what we're going to be looking at within this study. So the context here, this is within what's called the Nanzan Asia program, or NAP. This is a full year academic program that goes to 7 different Asian countries. And the heart of this program really is the 3 or 4 week short-term study abroad portion where the students go to a Asian country. This program in particular is in Thailand, as we know. And down here at the bottom, of course, the heart of this actual particular program is the interactions that occur with the Thai tutor buddy hosts that connect with our students in a one-to-one basis. And essentially, the Thai tutors in a formal capacity provide support for fieldwork by introducing our students to their friends and whatnot to collect data. They provide Thai language support through tutoring them after more formally structured classes. They act as cultural ambassadors on excursions and during cultural activities. But more than that, in a more informal sense, really as friends, going out and eating together, going to night markets, shopping together, et cetera, and so forth. So maybe in the beginning, there might have been a more formal, aspect to this program, but it very quickly shifts over to a more informal one. The participants, there were 8. It was a small group. We had 8 visiting Japanese students who were paired with these tutors. They were all third-year students. By this stage, they've developed their Japanese ability a little bit more, which fell within the CEFR B2 to B1 range, along with their English. Half of them had reported having foreign friends, and about 6 of them reported having overseas travel experience of about maybe 1 week, maybe once or twice to a neighboring Asian country. So not a lot of experience, really. So in terms of the methodology, first we're going to look at the quantitative instruments that were used here. There were 2 of them, and they were conducted using a pre and a post test design. Let's look at each of these a little bit more. The Intercultural Sensitivity Scale, or the ISS, which we'll call it from now, is a 24-item questionnaire on a 5-point Likert scale, which measures these 5 factors down here. And each of the names of these factors is pretty much self-explanatory. Number 4, interaction enjoyment. This is not necessarily about whether you enjoy or don't enjoy interacting with others in an intergroup manner. It's more about the reactions to communication that's culturally different. And this instrument's been used in several other studies, and it's demonstrated various reliability and validity. Secondly is the ICA measurement, the Intercultural Communication Apprehension measurement, according to the PRICA. This is by Newlip and McCroskey. It's a 14-item questionnaire on a 5-point Likert scale. And again, this measures the fear and anxiety that people experience in cross-cultural interactions. And it's also considered to be reliable and generally valid as it's been researched in other studies. All right, so looking at the results, we can see here, first for the ISS and next for the PRICA, in the pre and the post results and the change. Down at the bottom, we have an arbitrary classification that I came up with. There's 6 bands that are listed here for the ISS. And then Newlip and McCroskey also have a classification system for measuring ICA down here according to 3 bands. So essentially, looking at the pre-results, you can see here, the low score here was in moderately low, up to 101, which was considered to be high, and the mean was 87, which is considered moderately high. In the post results, we see here a moderately high result on the low end, 103 on the high end, and 91.5, which is indicative of a higher result within the the mean results in the post scores. So these rose by 4.5 points. So they were able to increase their intercultural sensitivity. Regarding the PRICA scores, again over here, 34, this indicates medium ICA, 53, which would be a higher level of ICA, and 40, which would be medium ICA for the actual mean. In the post results, 27 is low, 42 is medium, and then 36 is also within the medium zone. And there was a change of a decrease in ICA of 4.25. So basically, as the intercultural sensitivity rose, the intercultural communication apprehension decreased, which is what you would expect. Next, we're going to look at the individual factors. So here we can see the 5 factors within the ISS. 4 of them, as we can see here indicated in green, we can see an increase, again on a 5-point Likert scale for the group results. The largest increase was demonstrated in the interaction confidence, a full 1/2 point increase, with the other 3 increasing at a very marginal level, as you can see over here. And there was a slight decrease that was found in the interaction enjoyment. And again, interaction enjoyment is defined as reactions to communication that are culturally different. So this is what I found with the group results. Next, we'll look at the individual results. You can see here, these are the individual excuse me, results for the ISS between the pre and the post-test scores and the changes. T, of course, represents tutor. Tutor's 1 to number 8. So one tutor indicated no change, as we can see over here. 4 of the tutors demonstrated an increase in their intercultural sensitivity, with quite a significant increase here for tutor number 7, moving from a moderately low score of 65 up to a high score of 103 and a 38-point jump. 3 tutors also over here demonstrated a decrease in their intercultural sensitivity levels, with the largest decrease occurring in tutor number 5 at minus 16 points. Okay, and regarding the PRICA, again, we can see here from tutors 1 to number 8, 6 of the tutors indicated in green here demonstrated a lowering of their ICA. And 2 tutors indicated an increase actually or a higher level of ICA according to Newlip and McCroskey's classification. Again, the largest decrease in ICA was reported by tutor number 7 at minus 15. And the largest increase was reported by tutor number 5 over here of plus 8. So previously, we noticed again, the increase in intercultural sensitivity by tutor 7 of 38 points and a decrease of minus 16 for tutor number 5 over here. So in order to understand these results more on both the group level and also an individual level, I decided to do some qualitative data collection. And that was done through a post-study abroad survey, which I gave to the participants, which was open-ended. And then I also conducted some semi-structured interviews, which were also done after the study abroad program's conclusion. The data itself, I put into the Max QDA software program. I did verbatim transcriptions and I coded it within this program and then looked for the various themes that emerged and used thematic analysis and an interpretive approach to look at the various results. So there were 3 main themes that emerged, and I'm going to look at each of these themes with you briefly, and also the sub-themes that connect to them and provide some illustrative student quotes, which I'll invite you to read. The first theme here is envisioning. So this largely was connected to the way that they envisioned the interactions occurring with connections to themselves as a person, as becoming a tutor, their expectations that they had, and some other factors which we'll see in a moment. In terms of becoming a tutor and their actual expectations that they had prior to interacting with the visitors, there were 3 main things. One was they wanted to increase their Japanese ability. They wanted to cultivate friendships with the visitors. And some of them reported the peer influence of previous tutors. So this is an ongoing program. And the previous year, and also the year before that as well, when they were freshmen, they'd observed their senior students interacting with other groups of Japanese. And there was a kind of what's known as a near peer role model effect. Tim Murphy has done a lot of research on this. And they were highly influenced by these peers who were very close to them in proximity. And they wanted to be like them in terms of being able to speak like them and to be able to cultivate these relationships. So here's an example of that. Okay, so we can see all 3 of these factors basically included in this quote. Next was recognizing concerns, again, prior to the arrival of the visitors. And this largely also had to do with using Japanese, the interactions, largely to do with the uncertainty of the ICA that they noticed, which of course connected to their fear and anxiety of interacting with these visitors. Here's some examples of that. Okay, and then lastly, not only about themselves and what they wanted to get through their expectations and what they were concerned and worried about before they interacted, but also the way that they conceptualized their tutor role. This was more done in fuzzy terms. They didn't really have a clear concept of what they were supposed to do as tutors prior to the arrival of the students. But what they did say largely connected to ideas around cultural exchange, such as the following. And again, this was not very clearly defined. There wasn't a real clear sense of what exactly they were going to do with these cultural exchanges between themselves and the visitors. The next theme is on revisioning. So this I labeled based upon the actual intergroup contact that occurred. So this is after the group of Japanese students arrived and they formally became tutors. This largely had to do with themselves developing as an intercultural being that centered largely around recognizing either the realized or unrealized expectations that they had, and also the realized or unrealized concerns that they had in terms of their own development as an intercultural being through these interactions. Some examples. Okay, next, navigating interaction challenges. This is something that they observed largely that connected to their ability to more complexly understand the differences and the commonalities that were observable within their intercultural competence development. So in other words, when they were interacting together with the Japanese students in terms of how they could perceive the differences in terms of cultural or individual differences between themselves and these visitors, and including the interpretations that they would place upon those interactions, and also the various strategies that they would use to try to overcome any of the challenges that they observed. So here's a couple examples of that. Okay, so we can see a little bit of polarization here between the Thai culture and the Japanese culture in some of these comments. Next. Okay, and of course here with tutor number 5, the one that we observed is not developing their intercultural sensitivity as much as some of the other tutors, and actually falling down on the scale a bit. We can see here that some of that could be chalked up perhaps to some of the individual communication that this person had with their one-to-one paired tutor. It was a bit of a challenging experience to navigate for them, which helps again to explain some of the differences in their ISS and also their ICA. Okay, lastly, and again, I apologize for going quickly here. The third theme was about bridging to other contexts. So it's looking more towards the future and how they were able to connect their intergroup contact experience to their future in various ways, which of course included their career, academics, and some other ways as well. And you might have noticed this word confidence appearing in some of the other comments as well. This, of course, was the area that increased the most. And we can see this clearly in some of their transcriptions from their interviews here. Okay, the next part was looking at how they would advise future tutors. And interestingly, through these comments, there's a greater sense of understanding of what exactly is required of their role. And this obviously is something that was not quite clear prior to the actual interactions with the Japanese visitors, but it is more so now. And it also indicates some of their development in their intercultural sensitivity through having had the experience of interacting with these visitors. Okay, again, you see this word confidence coming up. Okay, lastly was how they would advise future visitors from Japan who are coming to Thailand to participate in future programs. And again, this also included some insight into the ways that they would perceive some of the interactions that occurred through their own particular mindset or their own lens, culturally speaking. All right, so let's discuss some of what we've noticed here. The first point that I'd like to look at is that intercultural sensitivity development is definitely possible within internationalization at-home contexts. So in other words, students don't have to participate in outbound student mobility in order to develop their intercultural sensitivity. It is possible, obviously, at home. And especially when it's done by the support of intergroup contact conditions, and in particular, as we saw here, through the buddy system conditions within this internationalization at home context, especially by sanctioning from the host university and also the university here in Japan. It did help to provide more of a sort of formal structure. But within that formal structure, the students themselves, through having shared goals, through being somewhat in close proximity to one another, were of course able to cultivate various relationships that were able to sort of serve their intercultural sensitivity development with one another. As we noticed, interaction confidence was the area, the factor that increased the most. And this largely occurred through the realized expectations and the unrealized concerns that connected to the L2 goals and the relationship goals that the Thai tutors had. So that largely helped to build their confidence overall. And interestingly, we can see here the individual differences that we observed. They could be explained in different ways. One way is obviously through the outgroup perspectives that they had towards the Japanese, by the ability, to look at these interactions in various degrees of complexity, again, that occurred between the differences or the commonalities that they could observe. And of course, that would indicate things such as polarization on an ethnocentric scale, or perhaps different layers or different shades, I guess, of acceptance or being able to adapt, which would fit more within a more ethno-relative lens. And of course, there were individual factors that contributed. You might remember one quote from looking at future visitors about being introverted. And if a student's not very introverted, it might not be the best place to come, as one of the tutors mentioned in their comments. So interpersonal factors were another aspect of this that were observed by the tutors. And then lastly, the tutors were able to expand their role perception. So initially, they had a very strong sense of what they wanted for themselves, less so as being a tutor. But then through reflecting on the program as a whole, they had a greater concept of what they both wanted for themselves and as a tutor through the experience of participating in the program. Okay, quickly, more attention is necessary to facilitate a balanced and intentional development of intercultural communication competence. And this can occur through both formal and informal curricular endeavors. This is something that the host side and also our side over here in Japan can focus on more with our pedagogy. Student voices should inform pedagogical development. We should listen to our students, especially through this study, and look at taking some of our bearings from that to improve the program. And then when we're looking at ICC development, it's more effective through a mixed methods approach. The study limitations are here, of course. It was a small sample size, narrow time frame of 3 weeks. The usage, they used their L2. So they used English mainly and some Japanese for the data collection. So doing it in their native tongue may be more effective. And we'll move to Q&A. Thank you very much.